Welcome. This is For Better and Worth,
the podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka Young. And we're so glad you joined us today.
All right, y'all, come on. Let's get into it. Hey, folks, welcome back to the For Better and Worth podcast.
Yes, we are so glad you're here, and we are going to have a doozy of a conversation today.
You're going to have to change up your intro. Everything is a doozy, girl.
Did I say that before?
Yes, it's just funny. But we're going to have a good time talking about our topic today because we were very fortunate and very blessed to spend some time on our friend Anthony O'Neill's show, The Table. And it was interesting because there's some topics that came out of that, you know, we felt like we would be remiss if we didn't go back and talk about.
Right. We're just going to go a bit deeper for some context. I think that that's a fair way to put it. But yeah, so I'm excited.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we're going to talk about how I am not a big fan of Louis Vuitton. Like, that is not my jam. I'm not interested in spending the money. And I just feel like I'm in my bag. I'm just not in that bag. Not in that one, you know?
Right, all right, speak on it.
And so, yeah, I said on the table that I'm not interested. I literally said I'm not interested in Louis. And there's many reasons for that, but in particular, that's just not the amount of money I want to spend on a bag. Let's put it that way. We can keep it as simple as that. We can go in deeper if you like, but that is really the crux of it all. I don't want to spend that much on one item unless it's an upgrade in my house, something like that.
Yeah, I think you also said something about Christian Louboutins,
right?
If I remember correctly.
Yes, and I'm not into the red bottoms. And here's the deal. Really, the whole point is I've heard from several people that they hurt your feet. And at this age,
Hold on now. We can't slander these people, you know.
No.
Don't want nobody coming after us.
Hey, try them for yourself. If you want them, be my guest. Have at it. But I just cannot afford to. I have to baby my feet a little bit. I wear. If I put on some heels, it's for an hour, and that's the honest truth. So, anyway, that's the other reason.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very good topic for us because, look, you know, your boy likes some shoes, and I have been spending money on shoes for years, so it's going to be interesting as we delve into this topic.
We differ here, and that's okay. That is all right. So it's interesting that he pulled that out, and it is the one clip that got a whole bunch of comments, like 1,000 different comments, honestly, on that one clip, just because I was saying that I'm not into it and I'm not interested. And that is unusual for women.
Look, I'm going to say this for all my fellas out there. Look, babe, I ain't mad at it. Okay? You cannot be in the Louis and Louboutin. I'm okay with it.
Of course. You like to keep your money in your pocket, okay? That's the real talk.
Right. But I think it bears a question because people always talk about, you cheap. You don't want to spend money on that or this. And so I will certainly not consider you as cheap.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, honey.
Now, maybe when we first got married, you were a little cheap then.
Oh.
But, I worked with you and now you're just more frugal and you're very discerning in where you choose to spend money.
That is so interesting. Okay, so hold the horses. I have to be in defense of myself. I am frugal today, and I like nice things for a good price. I check for coupons on nearly everything that I purchase because I'd rather spend 10% less if I can, right? So I have gotten wiser in the way that I spend money. In the past, I just bought cheap things. right? I would just buy the stuff that was inexpensive and didn't have to be on sale because it was already $15, right? So you're not gonna really get $15 off of that item because it's already simply $15 out the door. So the truth is that yes, I purchased some things that you wore once because then after you wear it, it just falls apart in the wash. I have done that. Admittedly, yes, that was me. Um, and likely, you know, it was simply some of that was that I didn't have money for the extra stuff and I just wanted to look cute, and sometimes the cute stuff was just cheap. And I just honestly didn't have that much of an awareness of, nicer things. So I will tell you, like, that wasn't on my radar. However, I notice when people dress nice or when the quality was nicer back in the day. I did notice. I just didn't partake. I wanted more quantity versus quality. And that's the truth.
And you know what? We're gonna get in some. I got some good questions for you, but I think it's interesting when people who maybe don't have money, or they haven't reached millionaire level or millionaire status, or they're still walking around with significant amounts of debts. They can look sharp. They can have the Louis and the Louboutins and the Gucci and this and that, but what's going on behind the scenes? You might have your Gucci belt and your $300 jeans and all of that, but what's really going on? And sometimes I think people spend money on stuff that they really, by all accounts, can't afford. But
yeah, and that's real talk. I do have to piggyback off of that because that's the other part of this. I just don't like the whole idea of something that is taking people away from the real reason they need to, save money or their goals or, advance in life. And it's shiny, it's pretty, it's quick, it's, culturally what everybody is doing. It looks good in the moment and people go after it. And then they don't have anything for the future. And that drives me crazy. So I sometimes feel like I just reject the industry or that whole idea because I don't like what it does to people who look like me, and that's the honest truth.
I appreciate that. But I got a question for you, so we can move this conversation on. So what are things that you prefer to spend money on?
So today, I do not buy cheap clothing. So let me just be clear. This was the past Ericka who likes to spend a little bit of money on many things. And now I prefer quality pieces. I just like to get it on sale or on a deal or something like that. But I spend money on my hair. I spend money on makeup or lashes. I spend money. I love massages. I love massage. Now I don't do them as often as I used to, but I love a good massage. So honestly, self-care is probably a place. I still don't spend a ton. I'm still not excessive. I wash my lashes. I like a good facial, but I'll do it at home. I like that. But the biggest thing that I feel like I spend money on is experiences and travel and that kind of thing. So I'm much more a person who I prioritize making sure that our long-term goals are taken care of versus spending on the right now. But yeah, I like to look cute and I've evolved. Let's say that I have evolved in my choices. I just don't like the ones that are over, I honestly don't necessarily like to spend over $100 for a piece. That's probably my little threshold, and I kind of hyperventilate a little bit if I do that.
Look,
So
babe, you always look good. You're always well dressed.
thanks,
You're
babe.
always very well put together. So, but I appreciate, your frugality, because
Yes.
you have our long-term goals and our long-term objectives in mind. So, I'm giving you that, hey, I'm right there with you. So I appreciate you.
There you go. There you go. I appreciate it. So, I mean, what about you? What do you spend money on, husband?
Well, for the record, I typically, over these years, have always spent more money than you. And I've always liked, different things. And, I spend money on a lot of stuff. I just got to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if there's a good, better, best option, We talked about it before, and I'm always opting for the best because I think buy it once and be done. I believe in quality. I believe in, you get what you pay for. And so, I spend more on jeans and shoes, and I have historically always spent more on shoes. I remember, you know, back in the day, I was back before we had all these brands. Now, Kenneth Cole was the stuff. You were buying Kenneth Cole's. That was it.
Yeah.
And I remember we were out shopping, and I saw these camel colored Kenneth Cole's. I was like, oh, I gotta get these shoes. And I think it was like $160 on those shoes.
And I probably hyperventilated. I literally could not imagine at that time spending $160 on a pair of shoes. But we used to do a little bit more shopping when you would get a bonus.
Yeah.
And so we would allocate a certain amount of dollars from the bonus to clothing or what have you. And man, so I wasn't worried that we were going to be able to pay for it. That's not the concern. It was just, I just could not swallow the fact that you wanted to spend that kind of money. And I was like, oh, they're beautiful.
I don't know if it was like me feeling like, man, I worked hard. I got this bonus. I'm going to reward myself. And,
Yeah.
always go and do something. But that was, man, that was so long ago that we did that. I don't even know if it was the right thing to do. But look, I was killing it with them shoes when I was on them. I was like, look, killing them. Look, watch out.
So let me ask you this, though. Were you always a person who liked nice things, even when you were growing up and you admittedly said that you guys were poor? And how did you reconcile that? How did you be who you wanted to be, even though y'all didn't have the money?
Look, one thing I say is my mom, she used to show I was the youngest. So, by the time I was growing up, my brother and sister, they were older, and my mom didn't necessarily have to take care of them in the same way. And I remember this is going way back, but kangaroo boots. My mom, she showed me some love. I got some kangaroo boots, thought I was the man. I remember, when Nikes first came out, I got a pair of the, cloth Cortezes, but my mom was finding ways to make it work. And what I realized now she was doing, she was using credit, she was using store credit cards, and we would only go and shop at those stores where she had credit. And so knowing what I know now, I might have been like, Mom, I don't have to have that. And so she was just trying to show me love, being the youngest child. And, while I appreciate it, I look at it in a slightly different light now. And so...
but you also got a job at a certain point and bought your own stuff, right?
I was just about to say, when I turned, I think it was 14, and I was going into 8th grade, my mom was like, look, man. She was like, you can get school clothes from these places, and this is what I'm willing to do. And she wasn't buying the things that I wanted. And so I literally got a job at 14 as a dishwasher. And I think with my first paycheck, I bought a pair of Adidas Forums out of the East Bay catalog. That's what I spent my first paycheck on, was a pair of Adidas Forums, because I was getting ready to go to high school. And so this was like right after 8th grade. And it was like that summer, and I was getting ready to go to high school. I was like, man, I got to be fresh. I'm going with the big dogs. And so I literally, from 14 to today, have always had a job.
Yeah.
And I worked to pretty much just buy myself clothes and buy the things that I wanted that my mom, either just wasn't willing to buy or she couldn't afford to buy. And so I think, in hindsight, it was actually a good thing, because it taught me, a good work ethic, and it helped me, start to focus in on what mattered. Because when I started spending my own money, I was like, hey, can I get a hookup? So it just made me approach things in a different manner.
Yeah. That's interesting, because my upbringing, I wouldn't say we were poor. We were not poor. We were definitely middle class, I would say, and lived in the suburbs. And I didn't want for anything. I'm sure your mother didn't, you didn't feel like you wanted for much. She told you what her limitation was, and then you fell within that boundary. And then when you needed to get more, you went and got a job. And I will say, all of you, your siblings, and your mom always dress nice. I mean, so I think that was a value that you had. I really do. I think that your mom had that value as well. Just everyone, my kids gonna look good.
I think because we grew up in a situation where we were considered poor. My mom was like, one, the house is gonna be clean,
Yeah.
and two, the kids are gonna look put together.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be in a situation, but you don't have to be a byproduct or become a circumstance of your situation.
Right.
And so that's one thing that she said, look, make sure you keep. Now, when I came home from school when I was young, I took them school clothes off, put on some play clothes. And, when I was in high school, I was just buying what I wanted. I was going to work and, doing what I wanted to do. I got a car, had to keep gas in my car, stuff like that. And so it built some good habits
Yeah.
in me.
Yeah.
And so like when we got married and you weren't into like big designers and name brands, I was okay because like Louis and Gucci's and all that, it's fine if you want to spend your money on that. But I agree with you. I love a good vacation.
Yeah.
I love those experiences because we've been very fortunate to go to a lot of places and we always relive those experiences and share what that was and what that was like. And I think it keeps that dream going and it drives us to the next vacation.
Sure.
'Cause literally, we come off a vacation and we're planning the next vacation now.
Right. Yeah. And I will say, even though I wasn't into the name brand stuff when I was coming up, and my mother wasn't really into that, she always dressed nice and wanted to make sure me and my sister dressed nice, and we would have matching clothing, even though we were 4 years apart. But she always had cute clothes on us. And as I began to make my own decisions about it, I liked cute things. I didn't necessarily care about the name brand stuff, but I think the one purchase that I remember my mother giving me that was expensive was a Christmas I had asked for a Coach bag, my very first Coach bag. And I remember it was brown leather and it flapped over and it had the clasp in the front. And I just thought I was doing it. Um, and I just was so happy to actually have my first Coach bag. And, my mother was willing because it was the holiday, but that was not, it wouldn't have been like a normal occurrence. And I had that bag for many years. Until I could actually buy my own. But I've been a Coach person. That's my bag of choice. That is the brand that I have just stuck with. And honestly, I'll be very frank and say I think that it's because you can also get them for a reasonable price. Like it's a high quality bag, and you know that they stand by their work. And that has been the one thing that I would say has been consistent. I like other stuff too, but I if I were to say what brand I like, that would be the one. That would be the main bag I would say I like. And I like Michael Kors too. I think when it can go on sale, I love that. That's just the value I have.
So how you talked a little bit about it, but I want you to talk a little bit more about it. Like, so how has your taste changed? Let's go from young Erica to 2023 Erica. So how has your taste changed?
Yeah. I mean, I like nicer things. I have learned to find nicer things, right? So I no longer buy the cheap stuff that will fall apart, right? Cuz that's real. That's real talk. I did that before. So I like more high quality things. And so yeah, Nordstrom Rack is my store. And I like to know that I look more expensive than what I paid for the item. I just get a real kick out of that now. And I love knowing that the shoes that I bought, people might know the name brand, but they will not ever believe that. I mean, I haven't paid full price. I
Right.
usually have not paid full price
Right.
for them. So yeah, I mean, my taste has definitely evolved. I like quality more than I did in the past.
Look, and I know when you give me a gift and it's a name brand something that I said I wanted, I was like, when it shows up, I was like, man, this girl got a deal on this. I already know. You bought me a Toomey backpack, and you was like, man, I ain't paying $500 for no backpack.
You right.
And I was like, boy, I know this girl got a deal on this backpack. So
Sure did.
it actually made me smile because I already know. So I was like, hey, I don't care. I got my Toomey, and boom, I know she got a deal. So I'm happy, she happy, so it works.
That's right. And you know what? My motto is I'm going to always save you money. That's my motto for my husband. I'm going to always save you money because it's true. I'm always looking for the deal.
Look, get you one, fellas. Always going to save me some money. Go get you one.
So is there any inkling in you that wishes I liked the more expensive items or that I dressed differently or desired some of those other name brand things that women wear?
Look, you always look great. When we go out, when we travel, when we do things, you always look great. And I know you have a lot of great items, great pieces, so I really don't care. And I always say to you, like just turning it around, I always say, you know what, man, I'm gonna go buy me some Gucci shoes, or I'm gonna buy me some Givenchy, or I'm gonna go buy all this name brand stuff. As soon as I go look at it, I was like, hold on, it's $500 for a t-shirt? Like, wait a minute, $900 for a sweatshirt? I was like, no, I'm not really feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm gonna go get me a Kenzo, and I was like, this sweatshirt $600.
So that's real. So do you feel like my frugality has rubbed off on you in some regard, or is it situational or depending on what the product is?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you rubbed off on me a little bit, but I know that there's certain things I'm like, I don't care what she like. This is what I like. And I buy my Jordans, and I like McNanny shoes, and I'll buy those, and I get the matching belt with it. If I'm suited up, going to work, doing something, and I have my brands that I like, that I'm willing to pay for, and I think we're blessed today to be able to afford all of that stuff, and we still don't choose to buy it 9 times out of 10. But I feel like, look, as long as I'm looking good, I'm put together. That's what matters. As long as you're looking good, you're put together, that's what matters. Look good, feel good, perform good, it's all good.
Come on, husband. I love it. Yeah. That's the thing is it doesn't really matter what you spend as long as in the end you feel good about yourself. That's it. That's it. I remember the first time we bought what I considered was something expensive for our firstborn. We were at a mall with my mother, and this little one was 2 or 3 years old. She was a new walker. Um, and of course, she had to have the stride right shoes. And we were just like, she will not walk right if she don't have these shoes. I'm pretty sure she was closer to 2 than to 3. And we were still in debt, heavy in debt at that time. But we went to this stride right, and we were thinking we were going to get one pair of shoes, and those things never went on sale. And I remember paying $45 for a 2-year-old's pair of shoes. And not only did we buy one, but we bought 2. And my mother's eyes kind of bugged out her head. She was looking like, really, y'all about to do this? This is crazy. Who do you think you are?
I was like, my baby gotta have these good shoes.
And I felt rich for a hot second. I felt like, oh, we doing this. I don't know why we doing it, but I felt, and I could see like the adrenaline rush that happens when you make a purchase that you're excited about or you're proud of, or like your kid is going to be looking all good or walking in these nice shoes. And, it's funny how that I felt something different in that moment. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have bought it, but I know that we were still in debt at the time. And I know that it was probably a stretch, and it probably didn't make sense in terms of balance and where we were and how things were happening at that time in life. And so maybe one pair, but definitely 2. Really, these kids take those shoes off as soon as you get somewhere comfy. And so it was just interesting how I could, as a mom, I just wanted her to have it. And I was willing to go out on a limb, and I can imagine that that's what happens, and it causes people to go into debt. Because I know we didn't put it on debt at the time. It's just there wasn't that adrenaline rush.
Look, I'll say this: if you're listening out there and you're out of debt, or spend your money how you want to spend your money. If you want to buy Louis, Gucci, Birkin, Dior, spend your money on whatever it is you want to spend your money on. And I think though, if you go back and you start to look at the books and read, the Millionaire Next Door, the Millionaire Mind, and all of those different things, the typical average millionaire does not spend a lot of money on clothing or cars or bags or stuff like that. They choose to spend money in places that's going to help them continue to accumulate wealth. And that's why there's a lot of modern day millionaires next door that you wouldn't know they're millionaires because they're modest in what they do. They don't spend, money on, high fashion or luxury brands.
Yeah.
And I think that you need to be at a certain place in life when you're spending that kind of money on luxury brands.
Yeah.
If you are renting and you have debt, I'm just going to put it out there. Louis might not be for you right now.
It's aspirational, but is it practical in the moment?
Right. A $4,000 Gucci bag, that might be a little down the line.
Right.
When you've gotten, your emergency fund in place, when you've gotten your debt eliminated, when you're, on the road to, millionaire. Maybe you set that as, when I hit millionaire status, I'm going to reward myself with something like that. But
Yeah.
I think we have to just stop and think about what is behind it. Why are we doing what we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we could do any of that stuff now, but we're still like, well, I don't know if I want to do that. And I know I have my guilty indulgences, and I always buy stuff and you're like, well, you spent what on that? I bought a bike, and
That was the big one. Honestly, we don't make purchases without having discussed it. So I'm usually never surprised. I think the bike, if we want to talk about that thing.
Yes, a bicycle.
Yes, there was a bicycle purchase. But
look, that bike was not as expensive as another bike.
Look at you defending it. Look at you defending it. But
people spend thousands of dollars on bikes.
Okay, but you spent $1,400 on the bike.
I know, it's a good bike.
Okay, so he came home. See, we don't agree. Not all the time. He came home with this bike. I knew he was going to look at a bike, and I knew, but honestly, I didn't think it was going to be that expensive. And
I moved like the wind on that bike.
You did. You absolutely did. And I actually thought because he took our daughter with him that her presence would change things or something. And no, actually, he came home with the bike. And so, I laughed about it, but I was like, wow.
You would never do that.
I would not. And on top of that, when I did, in fact, get my bike, I was flabbergasted at how much these bikes cost. I was like, wow, my bike was 20 years old or whatever it was. And I was thinking, I don't have to spend a bunch of money on a bike. And I still end up spending $600 and some odd dollars on a bike.
And I was trying to get you to get the nicer bike. You were like, I don't need it. It's a bike.
Right. And so it's just the one thing that is interesting is I have expanded my view of how much things cost, but that has been a very slow and gradual process versus I'm going to jump right into this new purchase that might be more expensive than what it was, 10 or 15 years ago. I have a hard time with the way things have progressed in terms of cost.
Yeah, inflation and...
Yeah, like even 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have spent, $100 on a pair of jeans. And now I realize the difference in a $25 pair of jeans versus a $100 pair of jeans. It is a big difference. And I have a few pairs of $100 pairs of jeans. And that is, but I have grown to that even as a woman with, young adult children like that. It took me a long time to wrap my mind around how much stuff costs. I still with cars and, there's a lot of things that I'm like, wow, I cannot believe it costs that much. But if, we want to go on a vacation, I'm like, spend all the money. spend it all. Let's just go.
That is so funny because you'll be like, I'm not spending money on this or this, but when it's vacation time, it's like, look, let's go out to the most remote place
Yep.
where it's gonna take us 20 hours to fly there, and we're gonna stay in 5-star accommodations,
And I'm gonna be
eat
happy.
good, and get a massage while you there. You like spend it all. It's all good, but it's what's a priority to you.
Yeah.
Because I know some vacations we've taken, you could have had a few Louis and Gucci's and whatnot.
Well, you know what? I think Vacation Ericka is so much more free. Let's just Vacation Ericka is really not thinking about the coupons, the discounts.
Right.
Vacation Ericka is free. And when I'm at home, I think I think a whole lot about how I can save money.
If we took the vacation money, Ericka would come back with Gucci, Fendi, Dior. She have all the bags. Like we ain't going on vacation, but look what I got. So, but you know what? That's where we have made it a priority, and on that, we're definitely on the same page because for us, it's all about living and having experiences. Because as life goes on, and you lose family members, it just changes your perspective.
Yeah.
And that's one of my mottos I live by is that life is all about perspective. And so we really have to look at things and enjoy the time that we have together. And when we're on vacation, it's like just a different pace and a different mode. And so I appreciate when we take those vacations because we turn the email and the phones off and we just connect and have fun. And that's where we always relive those memories. And that's more important than when we walk out the door, I see you grab your Gucci bag and I'm like, well, that I have no connection to that.
Well, and I think we connect, and it's deposits in the love bank.
Yeah.
Even with our kids, it's deposits in our relationship with them, or we've taken a vacation and brought my mother. It's deposits in relationship, and I think that is immensely valuable.
Yeah,
and
it's more important.
Yeah.
It's definitely more important.
Absolutely.
And we still have, I have a lot of guilty pleasures. I like watches, I like shoes, I like cars, I like a lot of stuff. And I have to pick and choose what I'm going to spend money on. And like you said, like right now, we've committed to, instead of buying another home and, potentially having to pay more for another house, we've said we're going to renovate our house. So we're committed to, spending money on renovations in our house. And those renovations, for me, are more important than some of the other things because we're increasing the value of our home. And should we sell, all it's going to do is be more money in our pocket in the long run. And so I think if you're not in your bag, then you got to see what matters and what's a priority for you.
Yeah.
And so I think it works for us.
Yeah.
And like I said before, if you're out there and it's your money, do what you want to do with it, but decide where your priorities lie. What's most important?
I think a good exercise for couples too would be to really have the conversation on where do you like to spend money? You're right. Watches is a thing with you. Shoes is a thing. You have more shoes than I do. I'm gonna always keep that stance.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
I have nice shoes. I just don't think I have as much as you. And I think it would be great though to just have the conversation on what it is that you value. What would you not want to spend money on? There are certain things that you are like, oh, I'm not spending that money on that. And there are things that I would say the same thing. Like I'm not interested in spending, lots of money on a watch. And, I like Sam Edelman shoes, but I'm not going to pay full price for them. And so I think that, when you talk about a conversation that you have with your partner about money, one of those could really be, what do you like to spend money on? Where do you find enjoyment? And that's really, that's good for gift giving. It's also good when you start thinking about what is the limit of your spending. So is this for a special occasion or an anniversary, or what is, a need, and you know that you're going to go through that good, better, best. Like if you need a new pair of jeans, but you're not going to pay $50, you know it's going to be $150. That's a conversation, because if you're going to do two pairs, now we know what we're talking about, because that's a budgeting principle, is to know how much things are. And so I think it would be really great for couples to talk about where they would spend money and how much those things are, and where do you agree to like set those limits, and how you work through that, because you may not see eye to eye, just like you and I don't always see eye to eye on that.
Yeah, and I think I always buy you for gifts the things that you wouldn't buy yourself.
True.
Because I'm like, she wouldn't buy this, she wouldn't spend this money, and I don't care. So I want her to be happy. And I just go buy stuff like for gifts that I know you wouldn't buy yourself, because then you're gonna be happy, you're gonna appreciate it. Now I haven't bought any Louis, because you'll probably be like, bro,
No,
come
take
on
that
now,
back.
that's not me.
Nope.
But I don't buy Louis, but I might buy a couple Coaches at a time.
There you go. And I'll take them and I'll wear them and I love it.
Yeah. And I in some ways, I love just the simplicity of just how you've chosen to be, and it's not any less sophisticated, And people can say or think whatever, but like you're as sophisticated as any other woman out there.
Come on,
And
Poppy,
so
I'll take it.
yeah, so it's like look, you can hang with anybody, you could dress, you can show up, and nobody can ever question it, because they would never know what you paid for anything, whether it was top dollar or whether it was a value. So I think it's all in the way you carry yourself too. And I go back to that swag word. You always have swag with it.
There we go.
And so it's all good. But let's make it worth it.
Yeah, so it's always worth it to have a conversation about what it is that you desire, because that's where you'll know where the heart of your partner is, where the heart of your spouse is, right? Like, you get me and I get you. We're different, but it's always worth it to have a conversation around what you like and what you don't like, and what is going to make you light up. And it makes me light up when we've saved money. That's the honest truth. I know that sounds crazy and a lot of people may not get it, but hey, I'm in my bag. That's the bag.
I think you make it worth it also, because you just determine where your priority is, and what's your particular priority as far as, is this thing going to bring you enjoyment, or is something else, or can you settle for something less? And I think it depends on where you are in your journey. If you've reached a level of financial success and independence because you're out of debt, you have built up, a fund for emergencies, and you've accumulated any level of wealth. If you find value in that, and that is a priority for you, sure, indulge. But if you can't afford to miss a bill, miss a payment, and you're trying to do something with some of these luxury brands, maybe you make it worth it by putting that on hold.
Yeah.
Put it on your vision board or something, or make it a goal down the line, because then when you get that reward will seem so much more fulfilling.
Yes. And the one thing that I'll add that's a good guideline, if you're looking to see, does this fit inside of my world today? A good guideline for clothing and accessories, things of that nature that you put on your body or that you wear, is between 2 and 5% of your income. So if you are at 10% spending on your clothing and those types of things, or you want a bag that's already 1% of your income, like, are you willing to go there? Does that make sense in your world? It's a guideline, not a hard rule of thumb, but it is a way to see, is something outside of your current reality that actually makes sense, and how does that purchase look in terms of the long-term goal? Is it going to keep you off? Like, how long is it going to take you off? And can you be consistent when you get back on? Or, you know what I mean? Like, so you have to kind of evaluate some of that stuff with larger purchases. Of course, if it's a smaller purchase, you might not have to go through all of that. But I think it's also really good to just know the guideline that would be good to stay within, given your income, 2 to 5% is good for those clothing and accessory items.
Look, this has been a great conversation. And shout out to AO. Thanks for asking the question because this has been fun talking about it.
Absolutely. Yes. We had a good time.
Yeah, so thank you guys for joining back in here at the For Better and Worth podcast. And until next time, we're out. Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all your support. So be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up for our email on forbetterandworth.com.
Till next time, we're out of here.